Hello, tis I, Wayward Brigand, and I've got something I want to say about Deltarune. Uh, the game that Toby Fox just released a few days ago that is clearly connected to Undertale somehow. Whether it's musically, which, I mean, this is his theme. It's a variation on his theme, and there's little musical motifs that get touched on here or there. The music is really good. This is not an opinion piece on the game, though. I have a theory about the game and a couple of things that connect it, a couple of things that don't. So what I'm going to be talking about from here on out is spoilers. Okay. So I think this game takes place in an alternate reality where the war between humans and monsters doesn't happen. Uh, there's a couple of reasons I think this. One, the couple of monsters that you see uh, that are in both Undertale and Deltarune are have similar, how do I put this, professions, but are slightly different. In Undertale, Toriel is the queen, but more specifically, she's a mother. She's a mother to Azrael, and she is a surrogate mother for the human characters, specifically Frisk, and to an extent, as far as we know, Chara. Um, it's said that she's treated Chara like her own child. In Deltarune, she's the main character, Chris's mother. Oh no, we're good. You see, you're okay, buddy. You see Undyne. In Undertale, she's one of the royal guard. In Deltarune, she's a police guard, like a traffic guard or a police fisherman. In Undertale, Alphys is a scientist. In Deltarune, she's a teacher. They're professors of sorts. In Undertale, Toriel's the king. Not Toriel, Asgore's the king. Sorry. Uh, but because of Azrael's death, he really likes the yellow flowers. In Deltarune, he's a florist. Interesting note, in uh, Deltarune, he and Toriel have split up. There's something happening with Elphys. I really didn't understand that. Who else was there? There's a couple of the monsters, like the enemies, are in both. Uh, they're more fleshed out characters, so to say. Here, Monster Kid is just a kid. Were there any other monster connections? Not that I'm aware of, besides just like one-off characters, one-off monsters, like the cats or the guard dogs that exist in both places. That's what I want to catch on though, is that the monsters seem to have similar roles in Undertale and Deltarune. I think in Deltarune, you end up being transported to this alternate reality's version of the underground that is not inhabited by all of these crazily unique monsters. There are still inhabitants there, though. And I believe there was a mention of an angel's heaven or something in Undertale. Whereas in in Deltarune's underworld, there's the light and the dark, angels and the demons, the heaven and hell, whatever you want to say about that. Uh, there's obviously the connection with the anagrams. There's Undertale and Deltarune. It's clear that, excuse me, Chris is almost an anagram of Frisk, just without the F. I can't think of anything for Susie, but for the third character, who's for the life of me name I cannot ever remember or pronounce, is an anagram of Azrael. Azrael is flat out mentioned multiple times in this this universe's overworld by Asgore, actually by multiple people. He's uh, Chris's adopted brother. He's mentioned. He's there. He exists. He's alive in the world. He's just gone. He's older, is what I'm is the thing. I think that this, like, if you just take the two universes of Undertale and Deltarune, and you follow them, I think these are happening at the same time, so to say. The characters have all progressed into the same time in their lives. Every character is the same age. Asriel would be a old teen or young adult in this time frame. So I think him having moved out, like you're in his room, you're his little brother. His stuff hasn't been touched in a while. It hasn't been used, or he's incredibly tidy and just doesn't show up to be home for a while. I think the latter is. I think the first is more acceptable because it's mentioned that he has a video game console underneath his bed, but the TV in the living room hasn't been plugged in for a while, so he probably hasn't been home for a while. So I think, like I said, I think this is just an alternate reality where the war between humans and monsters didn't happen. And it makes sense that Chris is the only human that we see, because in Undertale it said that a human soul is thousands of times more potent than a monster's soul. So if they were to co-populate, it would make sense that there would be one human per however many monsters. It makes sense. It's also only mentioned once or twice, I only saw it once, that Chris is the only human in the entire game. The only one. Just like Frisk was the only human that we saw. Except, there are two things I have to mention. Now, I know Gaster is mentioned somewhere. I did not end up seeing the secret. Sans is in the game, and Papyrus is mentioned. Sans is in the game at the very end. It sounds like he knows. This is the Sans from Undertale. Uh, Keep in mind that Sans is one of the very few monsters who can. Uh, how do I put this? He can't save and reload himself, but he knows about saving and reloading because of all the weird experiments that he may have been part of with Gaster. That's the rumors, though, at least. Uh, it would. It makes sense that Sans would be able to be in another universe, and then at the very end, as opposed to just being a part of the genocide ending, Chara is here. Chara is in this universe. Chara rips out Chris's soul, captures it in a cage, and is ready to do what Chara does. I think maybe this takes place in a universe that Chara has invaded after a genocide ending where Frisk has given up. So Chara has destroyed the Undertale universe, killed all the monsters. What's left for Chara? Well, there's a lot more living beings before the war happened. Chara is one of the most powerful souls in existence. Who's to say it can't go to other universes? So that's my theory. My theory is that Deltarune takes place in a universe where the war never happened. I think Chara is invading this universe through Chris, And that Sans, I don't know if Sans is connected to Chara. I don't know if Sans just happened to come here. I don't know. When the way Sans was talking, I'm pretty sure that's the Sans from Undertale, from that universe specifically. There's the mention of the photograph. The photograph from the secret lab in Undertale is three figures. Frisk, when Frisk looks at the picture, Frisk doesn't say it's Sans and two other figures. It's three figures. That's it. Maybe that's Susie, Chris, and the Prince of Darkness, whatever his name is. I can't remember. I think maybe the Prince is Asriel because it looked like Asriel, young Asriel, from another universe. That's a possibility. I kind of don't. I kind of want the Prince to just be a prince. There's other possibilities. The fact that uh, Chris is almost an anagram of Frisk is interesting, considering that they are the only two humans that we ever actually see, not counting Chara, because Chara is an invader in Frisk's being. And then the only other character whose name is an anagram is the princess, an anagram of Asriel. And then when at the very end of the game, very end of the underground portion, the prince takes off his mask or his hat, and it looks like Asriel. That's important. This is going to be interesting. Releasing these games episodically is the smartest thing Toby Fox could do because now he can craft the games based on the theories that players have. So he can screw with us so much more and so brilliantly, and I'm looking forward to it so much. I like this game. I like where it's going. It's gonna be good. Thanks for watching.